If I kind of sound like I'm tired, it's just because I got off a flight from Dubai, about 16 hours. So without any further delay, let's get started. So this session is a session I've been doing since the beginning. If you noticed, most people that trade Bitcoin or actually come to these conferences, they never really talk about trading. So my focus is I'm a trader, traders trade. So what I'm here to do today for you, the audience, is I'm gonna give you a lot of the tips and strategies, show you some of the stuff that we actually do as a hedge fund and a brokerage. And at the end of the day, I wanna give you something that you can use and take with you. So if anything, send some feedback to us, follow me on Twitter, and let's get started. So the nice thing is I'm the last session today, so Mo cut me off last time, so now I got 25 minutes, so I'm not getting off the stage until I'm done, so you guys can try to throw me off. Okay, so trading Bitcoin, what are we gonna cover today? So how many of you here have heard of Bitcoin? Everybody? What's Bitcoin? That's what I actually tell people now when they actually ask me, Harry, have you heard of Bitcoin? I'm like, no, what is it? Because the reality is, it's quite satisfying now for everybody that I've told about Bitcoin that actually invested and bought in, they're doing so well right now. I mean, look at all those Lambos out front. I mean, Bitcoin's doing well when everybody's driving a Lambo and a Ferrari, right? So what I want to actually do here, though, is I want to get a show of hands. Raise your hands here if you've actually traded Bitcoin, yourself on an exchange. Raise your hands. Excellent. So I think it's very, very important. The whole point of cryptocurrency and blockchain technologies, wallets, Ethereum, is that everybody should have access to their own money, be able to control it themselves. But I think the one thing that is never explained a lot and people don't really have a lot of knowledge about is trading. And how many times have you actually bought at the high and sold at the low? Well, today, all of you here, I'm gonna actually teach you how to identify amazing opportunities. I'm gonna show you guys actually how to make money next time China bans Bitcoin, which is like the 10th time. Every time China bans Bitcoin, what you should be doing is buying and then selling like when the news is over. Because I mean, look at the 20% drop the other day. How many of you sold? Raise your hands. How many of you held? Raise your hands. Excellent. Good. Excellent. All right. So what are we going to cover today in Trading Bitcoin? Trading 101, fundamental analysis, technical analysis and charting, and a little bit of history about us, and then we're going to have time for some Q&A, so let's get started. So Trading 101. What is the most important thing in trading is, at almost all the conferences, I ask people, how many people here care about the price of Bitcoin? Raise your hands. Okay, how many people don't care about the price of Bitcoin? Raise your hands. Okay, there's two types of people in this world, people who care about the price of Bitcoin and people who lie about it. So you're all liars, because if the price of Bitcoin was $1, I guarantee you, nobody would give a shit. I certainly wouldn't, because I'm a trader, and traders trade. So we love ICOs, we love all these alternate tokens, we love hard forks. Every time I have a hard fork, I get a hard on, I tell you, because it just means free tokens and more money. That's actually the reality is, it's crazy because when you think about Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, when it hard forked, Ethereum Classic literally dropped to almost nothing. Then what the market discovered and learned was that, you know what? I'm just getting more free tokens. So people that actually bought Bitcoin in 2013 or older, the OG gangsters, they automatically get more Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Gold. The other day, I was digging through my older wallets and I found like 150 Bitcoin Cash. It's awesome. Just free money. It's like finding money in your sock drawer. So longer term, this is still a very, very nascent industry. So I actually suggest for a lot of you, take 10 to 20% of your liquid net worth, put it into crypto, or if you're really ballsy, sell everything, put it all into crypto, and put yourself in a cryogenic chamber for 10 years. And then when you wake up, you'll be a billionaire. All right? So let's talk about where the price is going to be, ways to trade Bitcoin and crypto, talk a little bit about terminology, trader psychology. Super important thing I'm adding is cryptos, liquidity, ICOs, of course, and I'll show you some of our trading logs. So where's the price going to be? Well, duh. It's going to go to the moon, baby, moon. So $1,000 at the beginning of 2017, close to $20,000 already in 2018. It's the best performing alternative asset class literally in the history of financial markets right now. So yeah, just continue to hold. So where's the price going to be? How do we determine it? We use a combination of fundamental analysis and trend following. This is actually super important. Fundamental analysis, technical analysis, and trend following. So we're going to talk about different ways you can trade Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Money-making methods. You can trade on exchange, over-the-counter, arbitrage, and market making. These are all different strategies. The beauty about Bitcoin, trading Bitcoin spot, even derivatives, there's so many different ways to make money. So what are the ways you can actually make money trading Bitcoin? Well, you can buy low and sell high, and that's typically what people do on the spot market. In about 2014, 2015, Bitfinex introduced margin trading, so now you can actually short Bitcoin. By the way, shorting Bitcoin is probably like the single dumbest thing, because, I mean, if you had shorted Bitcoin in March of 2013 because you thought it was going to correct, you'd get crushed. I've seen so many people get crushed because of shorting Bitcoin. You can short stocks and equities, but Bitcoin, if you think about it, there's such a finite amount of it. You can short Bitcoin, but you got to have balls to really short Bitcoin. So I don't have the balls. So margin trading, futures, derivatives, BitMEX is actually like the largest Bitcoin derivatives exchange out there right now. What we've also kind of noticed is, if you notice the futures market, CBOE, they've listed futures. I think US dollar-denominated futures are going to take a while to catch on, because the reality is Bitcoin is decentralized. So the only way you can really fairly price a commodity or a future or a derivative is if you have centralized control. And Bitcoin, as we all know by nature, is decentralized. So this is why even us as market makers, we haven't really seen the futures market grow that much on the CBOE. And then obviously, hedging, options. LedgerX has actually come out with options for hedging, so they've done a pretty amazing job. So at the end of the day, it's just great to see progress. And what I'm the most happy about is it's starting to bring we're here to build bridges from the crypto world to the existing world. So it's very, very exciting, when your grandmother or your father and everybody else at dinner at Christmas, they're all talking about Bitcoin. So exchanges. By the way, I want to thank Josh. He sent me a copy of the slide deck, because he said, Harry, your presentation's amazing, but your slide deck sucks. So I made sure that everything's color coordinated here so that the slide deck is perfect. So these are some of the exchanges that we highly recommend you trade on. So, Bitstamp, Bitfinex, Gemini, ItBit, those are more institutional exchanges. GDAX is owned by Coinbase. Bittrex, Binance, and Poloniex, OKEX, and Huobi Pro, these are really, really exchanges now that don't really allow fiat withdrawals. So what you're starting to see now is an interesting move with a Tether. So an interesting statistic is that Tether actually went up 4% when all the other currencies crashed the last 2 days. So it's actually interesting to watch Tether, because Tether's a way that you can move US dollar tokens around on exchanges. Over-the-counter. So what is over-the-counter? You hear the term OTC. So OTC is like a peer-to-peer cash exchange. You can do cash to crypto or large block trades and wires. So every time that somebody is selling Bitcoin to each other, that's actually considered an OTC trade. But in the institutional side, typically the size is at least 25 to 50 Bitcoin, which is around $100,000. So what's arbitrage? So Bitcoin is extremely unique, same with cryptocurrencies in general, because in truly efficient markets, arbitrage should not exist. And for those of you that don't know what arbitrage is, it's the simultaneous buying and selling of the same commodity or currency in one market and selling it in another. So for example, if I bought Bitcoin from somebody here, like what's the price at? About 12,000. If I bought some Bitcoin from somebody at the audience here for 11,500, and then I sold it right away for 12,000, that's an arbitrage. And it's pretty amazing, because there's no other system in the world where you have 20% arbitrages. So you can make 20% on a single trade, which is insane. But of course, with arbitrage comes counterparty risk. So if the exchange folds or runs away with your money. So typically what I recommend is just do your due diligence on the exchanges. And what's market making? So market making is providing liquidity on exchanges. So for us, if we have a large block trade that's like $1 million or $2 million, we don't just do a market sell at all. What we have to do is we have to chop it up over time. So for like 100 Bitcoin, we might chop it up into 5 Bitcoins. I mean, this is crazy. Like 100 Bitcoins is like 1.2 million. So what we actually do is we chop up Bitcoin on the market so that people can actually buy it or sell it. So if we need to buy, we put in buy limit orders, and I'll show you guys that with a trading log. And we actually sell when we need to sell. And typically we profit from the spread when you're trading as a market maker. And then a lot of times you might notice on GDAX or Bitstamp, like the price moving up and down. Those are typically what you call algo trading or high frequency electronic trading. robots. Okay, terminology. What's important to know? Well, if you're trading, there's a couple of terms you really need to know what is. So when you're buying or you're holding a position, you're doing a bid, offer, buy, or going long. And by the same token, if you're selling, it's ask, sell, or shorting. Now, trader psychology. This is actually the most important thing. I've updated this portion because I think trading, when you talk about money, it's very, very emotional to some people. So the only way to really completely eliminate emotion from the trade is A, you trade with only what you can afford to lose, or B, you just have to do it over and over and over and over and over again. And then when you identify that feeling of fear or anxiety or even hype and excitement, you just have to identify that when you feel that, you should do a certain action, which is typically the opposite of what you should be doing. So number one thing, cut your losses quickly. How many times have you guys actually bought a position? It kept dropping, and then you sold. Better to sell. Isn't it better to sell for a smaller loss and then let your profits ride? This is a very, very important trading strategy, and it's very, very difficult for most people to actually do, especially right now with this ICO run-up. Always have an exit strategy. Always take some profits, and just remember, always be trading. Traders trade. It takes 10,000 hours for you to be proficient at something, 40,000 hours to be a master. I've been trading since 2013, and I haven't stopped a single day since I got into Bitcoin. Remember, traders trade, but don't overtrade. Don't trade for the sake of trading. Patience. Small trades add up to big trades. Don't go for that 10, 20, 30% trade when it comes to something like Bitcoin, something that's very liquid. You're better to have maybe 10 or 15 smaller trades that add up to 1 or 2, 20%. So that's very, very important. Manage your fear. HODL, hold on for dear life. That means when you have a big correction, understand you feel fear, you want to sell. I feel it too, but then I just identify that fear now as, okay, I should buy more. Trade only what you can afford to lose and start small. I started with $500 US. And I borrowed some money from my mom to buy a Bitcoin mining machine. And then I had some friends that were VCs that saw how crazy I was. So they put some money together and we started a fund. Bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered. You can make money when the market goes up, goes down, but if you get greedy and you pig out, you're gonna lose every time. Don't get greedy. So let's talk about cryptos, liquidity, and ICOs. Liquidity is absolutely key. What does it mean to be liquid? Well, cash is liquid because I can exchange it for something. Buying a car, that's less liquid. A house, not liquid. So a lot of these ICOs, you need to understand, a lot of them are not liquid. So what do we trade? Liquidity is key for me whenever I trade. So number one thing I trade the most is Bitcoin. Then I also trade Bitcoin Cash, Ripple, Ethereum, Litecoin, Ethereum Classic, and EOS, just because these are the most liquid pairs. Right? I'm not pumping them. We're not doing anything like that. I'm just identifying to you that these are the most liquid things on the market. If you just take a look at what US dollar pairs trade, you'll notice that these are the most liquid of all of them. And what's actually really important, the world is actually starting to turn to, is that Bitcoin, we start thinking now in terms of Bitcoin and not US dollar, because a lot of the trades now, when you buy alternate currencies, require you to buy Bitcoin. So it's actually kind of crazy because you start thinking the opposite direction and you got to look at 8 decimal places. So I highly recommend you get familiar with how things are actually priced in Bitcoin. So ICOs, liquidity is an issue. Lockups, nobody knows how long this ride is going to last. It could be all through 2018, could be over tomorrow, could be over in 3 years. Whatever ICO you invest in, make sure that you can weather the storm. Don't bet all your eggs just on one ICO because you will get crushed and it will hurt. So diversify your portfolio. Most ICOs now are based off of ERC20 tokens. The tokens to watch, and this is not me sponsoring them or suggesting them, these are just tokens I think you need to watch because there's so much crap out there. And a lot of the tokens now, what happens is you have to look at the technology and the blockchain behind the team. So why do we look at Cardano? Well, Cardano's got the Ethereum founders, have a pretty good blockchain that's completely separate. EOS, they're building a pretty amazing blockchain themselves. Reeve was up on stage. So, and Polymath, securities on the blockchain. Quantstamp. All of these tokens, the biggest thing is if you're a VC, you almost look at like the teams behind them. So it's very, very important. Look at the teams, look at the people, make sure it's not a pump and dump. That's how you evaluate ICOs, is really looking at the team and looking at the people. So trading logs. What I want to do today is kind of show you a little bit about how to trade. How many of you here, when you trade on an exchange, just do market buys? Just raise your hands. How many of you actually do limit order buys? Okay, great. So limit orders are always what we recommend too, because unless you see the price really going in a specific direction, you shouldn't really use market orders, because market orders move the market. But just off of a 70 Bitcoin trade, you know, in 3 minutes you can make $21,000. So it's important to identify the chart patterns. This is why I want to show you guys chart patterns towards the end. And this is the first time I've ever actually showed people kind of what we trade. So this is just a trade. So we bought Bitcoin at 99.69. One of my traders loves 69, so whatever. So limit sell order 69. So we made about $21,000, profit of 3 minutes. So that's a quick bounce. The next one we did, this trade took about 6 hours. And this is the last 2 days. And we did about 140 Bitcoin just on this one trade, and we held for 6 hours. We provided liquidity at the very, very low end of 140 Bitcoin, and then it bounced back up, and then we exited. It's $174,000, $175,000 in 6 hours. So volatility is your friend. Okay, so how did we know to put on trades like that? Well, fundamental analysis. The last couple days, what's the news? The news is, who's banning Bitcoin again? I think someone else is banning it. ICOs, whatever. Anyways, bad news, CNBC, everybody picks it up. They all talk about how bad it is. So there's this fear in the market that always comes, if you notice, in 2 days. I mean, any kind of asset or commodity, especially crypto, if it drops 20 to 30%, you can almost bet it has to correct. And you know why it corrects back up? Is because of short sellers. When short sellers sell, they need to cover their position. So when they cover up, people start buying in. So fundamental analysis, very, very important. Watch the news. So anytime, again, look at this last week. I actually thought it was amazing that this actually happened 2 days before I was going to speak to make these slides, so I could actually make those trades for you. So thanks to the news. So just be able to recognize the fear, uncertainty, and remember, Bitcoin's crashed at least 30%, 6 times in 2017. So all of you here seem to understand that feeling now, so good for you. Believe in blockchain and you will gain. That's kind of one of our models. So technical analysis and charting. What is technical analysis? And let's talk a little bit more about chart patterns. What's technical analysis? It's a study of charts and patterns to determine where the price may go, because the reality is all of us traders trade on data that's from the past. So past performance gives us a better indication when there's no fundamental analysis or news to determine how something may perform. So I'll give you an example of what a self-fulfilling prophecy is. When we saw Bitcoin going to 7,000, we're considered a much larger market maker out there. If we see that other traders are going to start piling in and everybody wants to drive the price up past $7,000, we're going to buy in as well, because what's going to happen is we start to see the volume increase. We start to see a lot of different signals on different markets. So it's very, very important to watch multiple exchanges. And what happens is, even though the price hasn't gotten to 7,000, a self-fulfilling prophecy is that, okay, somebody else is trading, I see them trade, I trade, my volume shows up on exchanges, and then it kind of snowballs. So a self-fulfilling prophecy is something that's used by traders, so it's very, very important to watch for this. Let's talk about chart patterns. My 2 favorite chart patterns. The parabolic. Just be very, very careful, because a parabolic, if something goes up 50%, it's going to drop 30%, then back up 20%. So understand, right now, Bitcoin, the correction is a parabolic move. I mean, Jesus, $20,000, back down to $9,000, back up to $12,000, right? Just be very, very aware of this pattern. And then my most favorite pattern is the dead cat bounce. So traders know about the dead cat bounce. This basically means when you see a massive amount of selling. So it's awesome to watch Bitcoin when we're at the 15% drop. Typically, if it drops 15%, I always recommend set some buy limit orders, 10 to 15% below, even 5%. Scale out your buys. What you're gonna notice is there's gonna be an over-exaggeration in the market, and your limit orders will get taken out, and then the price will bounce right back up. So as soon as your limit orders get filled, don't panic, don't sell, just wait. Put those limit orders for selling back up there, and you'll notice from my trade logs, sometimes it takes 3 minutes, sometimes it takes 6 hours. But it's very, very important to understand that this stuff takes time, so patience is absolutely key. Okay, so that is a little bit more about the trading, so a little bit history about us. I want to talk a little bit about a history, past, present, future. Just remember, overnight success is a lot of work. So a lot of the guys that have been here, like Mo, like congratulations to Mo. I mean, look at this conference. It started with like 50 people. And remember that success is a journey. And retirement is actually really doing what you love every day and doing what the people you love and care about. So a lot of people are actually getting into this space just because you can make money. Making money is great. But blockchain technology, if you're only in it for the money, it's going to eat you out and destroy it. Really, really kind of spend some time and understand the technology, work with some good people, and the money will come. So my first Bitcoin transaction was actually circa June 25th, 2013. That was my first Bitcoin transaction. A friend sent me Bitcoin, and I instantly got hooked. So 2018, the present, the world's waking up to blockchain. What we see is really going to drive the price now is that if you look at when Donald Trump took over, the price of Bitcoin actually went up. We actually traded in real time. When they thought Hillary was going to win, the price would drop. When they thought Donald was going to win, the price would go up. So there's going to be more uncertainty in the world. So the more uncertainty there is in the world, the better cryptocurrencies do, because it's a safe asset. It's a store of value. And you're going to start seeing a lot of sovereign wealth funds, countries buying Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, not because they want to, but because they have to. They have to hedge against inflationary currencies, fiat currencies such as the euro. We've already had inquiries about it. I can't say who, but it is happening. Most important thing, have fun and enjoy this rocket ship ride. But like I said, be smart, be responsible. And I'd like to thank all of you for being here, because being here, you've taken the first step that most people in this world haven't, which is really kind of taking the time to invest money into learning about the blockchain. So give yourselves a hand of applause. You guys believe in the future. Make money change the world. Thank you for being here. And what's more valuable than money or cryptocurrency is time. Don't waste your time doing stuff that doesn't matter. Steve Jobs actually said this in his commencement speech, is that if you are doing too many things that you don't like, too many days in a row, it's time to change. So who are we? Binary Financial, one of the first hedge funds out there, one of the world's oldest premier OTC-based trading desks. Our minimum trade size is $500,000 US per trade. We are based out of Canada, Singapore, and the UAE. We're one of the only ones that aren't US-based. We also have a hedge fund. So I was a fund manager, and I still manage a fund, but now we have a 2-year lockup, 5% management fee and 45% performance, and $10 million minimum investment is what we charge now to manage other people's money. That's my Twitter, that's my information. Do you have time for Q&A? I've got 1 minute and 53 seconds. I actually got time. Anybody got questions? No? Okay, is there a mic? You can give a mic. Okay, this handsome gentleman. No questions? Okay, sorry, Ran. You can interview me on CNBC.
Maybe you can ask him a question after. How's that?
Thank you, Mo. Thank you.